order. And ask staff to take a quick roll call.
Right. Mayor Devine?
Here.
Wayne Clark?
Yes.
Jessica Katzenmeyer?
Here.
David Roshka?
Here.
Brandon Reinke?
Here.
And then Eric Torkelson, Brian Frank, and Kathleen Baconhart are excused.
Okay, thank you. Then our next item will be approval of the minutes for our meeting at the end of July.
Move for approval?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Were there any corrections or changes to the minutes? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Anyone opposed? Minutes are approved. Then we'll go on to item D. We'll take up items 2A and 2B. Steve, thanks.
This has been before Plan Commission a couple times in the past. More recently, at the last meeting, Plan Commission had recommended that if the code violations were not solved by today's date, that we would reject this application. It's automotive use at 111th and Rogers Street. They had applied for an occupancy permit back in December of last year, and there were known code violations which have not been resolved to date. So we did conduct a public hearing. Council held action. The Plan Commission has held action in the past, but I guess with the condition that at this month's meeting we would take action on it and either move forward, or if there was some movement on those violations, but there has been none. So we're recommending that Plan Commission just basically reject this application for the conditional use at this time. And should the applicant come back and want to pursue resolving these issues in the future, they could certainly come back before us and the council, get that taken care of, and we can move ahead with that business. But there's literally been no movement whatsoever.
No correspondence or communication or anything?
I spoke with him probably a few weeks ago, and it sounded like he was going to follow up with building inspections to move, and there hasn't been anything. So this time it's probably in the best interest to just...
Mr. Mayor, I'd move to see his motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. And I guess that motion is to deny?
Deny,
To
yeah.
deny, yeah. And that will be forwarded to the council at the next meeting, just on a consent with the Plan Commission report.
Any other discussion? To deny, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Chair votes aye, and the motion carries. Thank you, and then we'll move on to item 3.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Item 3 is a site landscaping and architectural design review amendment for the Morgan Grove Apartments. These are located on the southwest side of the city. On May 31st, there was a balcony fire at the C building of the apartment complex. There was significant damage to the roof, the balconies, and the interior of apartments. The kind of shell of the building is still there, but they're going to have to completely kind of rebuild this building. The company is proposing a $2.5 million restoration and improvement project that would be for this C building and then also other buildings' balconies across the site, as that was kind of the source of the fire, and they've had a couple fires in the past, so they want to holistically address the issue and improve the site. Property is zoned RC. It's an existing conditional use. So taking a look at the balconies, right now the complex has entirely wooden balconies. And there's 442 apartments. Their goal is in the next year to replace all of these wooden balconies with metal balconies. There would be a slight design difference in that there would be some supports essentially for the design, where the current one is just cantilevered. But overall, it'd be complementary. It'd be the same color as it was before, black, and it's made of quality materials, metal, and then it's kind of a PVC type. It's like a different type of material, but that's for the just the deck that people actually stand on. That's not actually metal. To be a little more comfortable for people. The C building, they would then be also rebuilding with some slight changes, which is also triggering this design review. The roof pitch would be made a little bit steeper. They had some drainage issues and some roof issues at the site due to the low slope of that roof. They're also replacing the siding with more fire-resistant material. They had cedar board siding in the past. They're going to be proposing hardy panel siding, and they're going to be replacing the aluminum fascia, soffits, gutters, downspouts as well. The design guidelines are not mandatory. They do serve as a framework because we just consider this a minor project. We do believe that they're improving several of the criteria. it does retain the historic style. It kind of keeps the design intent of the building while improving it. The new balconies are complementary addition, and they're improving the quality of the materials used on the building. Staff recommends approval of the amendment. Any questions or comments?
Thanks, Zach.
Question. What was the cause of that fire?
I believe a tenant was smoking on the balcony.
They were smoking, and that just spread that quickly to do that much damage.
Yeah, I think the complex doesn't allow smoking, but obviously that's very hard to
Smoking meat or smoking a
cigarette. I think it's hard to enforce, and so they went with, instead of, they wanted to replace the balconies with something that'd be less likely to catch fire. Yeah.
Yeah, because it seems kind of crazy that it would spread that fast to almost completely destroy the whole building.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was pretty significant fire.
Okay. Any other questions?
With a motion?
Is there a motion?
Yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I don't know if you said move a motion or if you made a motion.
I was like, what are you guys doing this?
All right, there is a motion and a second. If there's no other discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Thank you. And then next up, we will take up item 4.
Thank you,
Mayor.
Mayor.
Jack.
This is a sign appeal plan for Healing Hot Yoga located in the Sona Loft Complex at 6679 West National Avenue. Proposal is for a painted wall sign on that east facade of the existing building. Painted wall signs cannot be approved by staff members, so that's why it's going to the Plan Commission. Additionally, the signage is at 64 square feet total, which exceeds the square footage allowed for this tenant space by 14 square feet. This is an example of that sign proposal. The signage satisfies the creative sign requirements by fitting in with the architectural criteria, the contextual criteria, and then the design quality is painted by a professional artist. With that being said, staff recommends approval of the signage plan for Healing Hot Yoga. Thanks.
Thank you. Can you just back up to the aerial?
It's a little outdated.
Pre-building.
I was gonna say, that's why I'm getting lost, because the
But
buildings
it's,
are.
so Sona would be this would be Maker's Row right here.
Okay.
And Sona is a kind of an L shape right here. And
So then the east-facing parking lot, is that gonna, or the east-facing mural or sign will be overlooking the parking lot?
yeah.
Okay.
So it's going to offer a little more visibility because they are kind of tucked away behind that Higgins property
Yeah.
and the future buildings on Maker's Row. But that's overall one of the intents of the larger sign size.
Sure. Thank you. Any questions?
No, I move approval.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. If there is no other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. And then we will move on to item 5. Okay.
Ryan Frank just said he's having trouble logging on, so
Let's see if he's in the queue here. Looks like he is not.
He has the link, I assume.
yeah. Okay, well. If, are you able to send the link? Is it? Maybe I can,
Didn't bring my iPad.
okay,
I
all right.
only have my personal.
We can try real quick here. Well, why don't we just keep going here?
Okay.
So the school district, Shelley Strasser is here representing the school district and the city's rec department, the school district rec department facility, and also Nathan Sheev is the designer with Groth, representing the school district as well. So the property, the former Lane School at 1300 South 109th Street. Just for context here, this is 108th Street, Highway 100, and then you have the 109th Street over here. Greenfield Avenue is off a couple hundred feet, a few hundred feet to your right, to the south. So this property is roughly about 4 or so acres, and the school district is no longer using it as a intermediate middle school. And the proposal is to repurpose this facility for at least part of the building, the newer portion. It was developed in a series of eras over the years. It's the original school building here. Then there was I think a 1950s and later addition here, and then this is the most current or newest, most modern part of the school, which is the gymnasium and so on here. So the district wanting to create a second rec facility here and maintain this part of the building and then demolish everything else. Here's kind of just a snapshot concept of how that would take off. You'd have the initial part of the building to remain, and then there'd be 2 phases: a 9,400 square foot phase 1 addition, and then a phase 2 of about shy of 14,000 square foot here. It would consist of some fitness areas, and then eventually indoor swimming pools and warm water pools and so on within the building, locker rooms, as well as other multi-purpose areas within the building that could be used for this second rec facility here. There would also be an additional 1 acre to the south end of the site that could be sold or redeveloped by the school district down the road. So the current zoning of this property is RA3, which is a low-density residential. It supports schools, and I think our next slide gets into that. Just sort of an existing look at the gymnasium, multi-purpose rooms, and then phase 2, 1 and 2 additions would be here, and then the future parcel that could be sold off here. This is a second floor that would be placed above. Actually, it is above the gymnasium here for fitness and other offices and rec facilities. Sort of a closer view. But the zoning is RA3, and they're proposing to rezone the property to C3 in order to accomplish the indoor rec facility. So schools are allowed in the current low-density residential zoning, and the land use for this is called semi-public, which is like an institutional type of future land use. As part of any rezoning, the rezonings need to come before planning commission, and then ultimately a public hearing happens before council. Tonight, this is just going to be for discussion purposes only. We don't need planning commission's recommendation this evening. We just want to give you an overview of the zoning. And I guess I'll give the school district a chance to sort of share their plan, why they're creating another rec facility here and what that all entails. But from a pure zoning standpoint, the district can't create a rec facility at this location under the current zoning of RA3. There's a few different options that could be pursued with either, and we'll get into those options next, but I think with any zoning discussion, you have to sort of look at what's best for the Highway 100 corridor. Right now, it's a low-density zoning, and does a low-density residential zoning best fit the intersection, the basic intersection of Highway 100 and Greenfield Avenue? Or is there a bigger picture? Could rezoning serve as a catalyst for future development within the corridor, whether that's for a rec facility or for an apartment complex or some mixed-use development, as was pitched in our Highway 100 corridor plan. The Highway 100 corridor plan focused on, improving the diversity and mix of uses within the Highway 100 corridor, increasing mobility, not necessarily just traffic flow, creating walkable destinations, giving Highway 100 a distinct brand identity, and then to promote more desirable development patterns. So just sort of a glimpse of that Highway 100 area within the Highway 100 corridor plan. This is actually south of Greenfield Avenue. The consultant that we had hired and worked with, definitely showed Highway 100 and Greenfield as an opportunity area, as also the North Gateway as you approach the city. But in taking a look at the idea of, zoning, and, this is RA3, low density residential, and as you get closer to the intersection, just south there's about 6, maybe 8 properties, and then a commercial property. Those are primarily all zoned commercial right now. I mean, with the exception of maybe a few back here that are RB district. The rest of these are zone C3. So the idea that I guess we want to share with the Plan Commission tonight is just to sort of think about as we move forward, and we're going to give the same discussion to council, is what's the best zoning for Highway 100? And there's a few options that we're going to throw out here. The three that we've kind of summarized here are, first of all, rezone the property to C3, to commercial, or amend the zoning ordinance language to allow a specific use on this property, or to leave it as is, leave it zoned RA3, and that would be prohibitive for the school district to put the rec facility there, and they would have to sort of focus on another use that would be compatible within the RA3 district. So those are the three options that we've summarized here. I suppose there could be more different combinations, but I guess those are the three that we're just sharing tonight as we move forward. So just talking a little bit about the option one, to create a rec department, an indoor rec facility. It is a conditional use in the C3 district, and within that, in changing any zoning, we have to align the underlying or the future land use. So you would have to convert the land use also from a semi-public civic type of future land use to commercial, and then that way the zoning would be consistent too if you were to change it from residential to commercial. From the zoning standpoint, it's fairly logical. When you think of Highway 100, you think of commercial activity, and commercial zoning does also offer other use opportunities such as multifamily and mixed use, which we've seen developed on other portions of the corridor further north of us and in other cities in Tosa, near Mayfair, and then further south of us in places like Greenfield and Hales Corners. So thinking about putting more people in residential like apartments in this area isn't out of the realm of possibility for this intersection. In fact, it might actually bode quite well, just given some of the adjacent uses with the festival foods and some other shopping areas and central location near the interstate. I think it provides a number of good opportunities to rezone it to C3. So it's not an illogical choice to rezone it, and I think that's what staff is definitely leaning towards, but we would just want to sort of explore the other ideas and hear from others as part of this too. So the other part is to amend the zoning ordinance language. I still leave the zoning as is, as low density residential, but then actually just maybe create an allowance for indoor recreation for civic organizations or public, like the school district and so on. That's possible, but it's also fairly limiting. And should the rec department want to do something else with that remnant portion of land, we'd have to take a look at rezoning that. If they were to sell that to a developer who could potentially assemble some other property south of that, closer to the intersection, all of that would have to be rezoned anyway. So it's a little bit less flexible, but it's an option. And then the third option, I guess, that we're sharing here tonight would be to basically leave the zoning as is, leave it as single-family zoning. It does open up the opportunity for the school district to find a use that's compatible within that low-density zoning district. I mean, schools, daycares, things like that would be allowed as conditional uses. Or, I suppose they could, consider other options such as selling the property too, the entire property. But I don't know that that's their intent, and that's the reason why they want to explore another rec facility at this location. And to do that, we're leaning towards a rezoning to commercial. So I guess that sort of concludes my short little summary presentation here. I just want to open up the discussion, and I think also give Shelley and Nathan a chance to sort of maybe talk a little bit about the rec, school district, the rec's plans at this location. And I know there's Alderman Stefanski and I think Ryan from Living Hope Church is also here too. So Shelley, I don't know if you want to just maybe give us a little summary of why another rec facility and why here.
Sure. Well, why there? It's available, right? So with the district's consolidation of 3 schools, this one property is available. the gym that is there and the new, section of that building services currently, the district and the community, with a lot of usage. So that was one of our priorities, is to try to preserve, that gym space. And, so why? We're looking for a lot more equitable opportunities. We do often hear, even though we have the rec center on the east end, people wanna, recreate closer to their homes, whether it's transportation, walking, biking. So lanes will fit that west end, to be able to service on the west side. Also, we're looking, to the current rec center, we're already adding 2 additional spaces. We just need more room and more space, and we've been doing a lot of partnering with the senior center and the health department to provide programming there in evenings, during the day. But in addition to that, we've just already outgrown it. And with the consolidation of schools, we do lose some space there that we previously lost. So, what we're currently looking to do is keep the gym, and the existing on the first floor, and then there's just some office space. And then on the second floor, renovating some classrooms, to accommodate, some of our parent-child classes, spaces for staff development, moving our spin, we have spin exercise flight classes, those would move to this facility. And then also with, the district leaving and vacating the 1205 building where they currently are at for administration, and moving to 9333, the 9333 location, does not have enough space to accommodate a Board of Education meeting room. So that would move to this location in, that existing space. And the future plan is, we'd like to provide a fitness center, and it's not uncommon for school district recs. This would be similar to, South Milwaukee has one, although not school rec. Greenfield School District, Shorewood all have community fitness centers. And, one of the questions comes up, well, we have, the Y, we have the WAC, we have all these other, but, we kind of look at if our families could access those, they would be. So we want to be able to provide a far more affordable option for families in our community, along with district staff. It's part of initiative for overall district wellness. And then future, the addition of a warm water pool. So it's not like a regulation lap pool or anything like that. It's of a smaller size, which can accommodate parent and child classes. Right now, the temperature of our current high school pools are not conducive to parents and young, kind of anybody under the age of 3. But then also warm water pools can help service in terms of therapeutic classes. And then attached to that pool would be what's called a walking lap pool. So not lap swimming, lap walking. So it's not the same footprint of like a high school pool or things like that. Or the question might come up, we already have these pools in our schools, not these type. So we're really limited as far as what we can do in our current structures. Right now, the Board of Education has approved kind of phase 0 and 1 as we're referring to them. Phase 0 and 1 are the demolition of, as Steve referred, kind of those whole 2/3 there to the south. And that would involve moving utilities, obviously and securing that up, and the renovation of the second floor in the existing building, the new space. So the rest, although those are kind of concept plans, they would need to go before the Board of Education, phase 2 and phase 3 before we move forward with them.
Any questions from the commission, Wayne?
If you get the zoning you would like, what's your timetable?
In terms of like when we would start, I mean, yeah, we've already engaged. Nathan is here. We've already contracted with both Growth Design Group and C.G. Schmidt, so we're already kind of working on plans. So it would be once we kind of get that approval, then it's sort of full steam ahead. But there's a lot of things that need to be done yet. Lane transitioning to school. There's still a lot of things moving parts and pieces, I guess I'll say to that, in terms of emptying it and getting it ready for, the process of demo and things like that.
Thank you.
And I can offer just a bit more in terms of a preliminary timetable. Nothing has been formally set or discussed with the Board of Education or Rec Department, but in conversations that I know I've had personally with the C.D. Schmidt team, we have identified, right, if zoning were to be approved, if the Board of Education continued to be supportive of the project, we would need design time. So basically fall and winter of 2023. So this year we would use to design more formally the renovations and demolitions and kind of reconnection of the existing building to remain. And then construction would be largely throughout 2024 or spring until the end of 2024, with the new facility or the project generally being complete in early 2025. And again, that would be the fastest I think we would move, depending on how this discussion continues, depending on how our discussion continues with the rec department and with the school board. That may get revised, but some more insight there as well.
Behind the scenes discussions with the school board and with the superintendent, there's support for this?
I wouldn't be here if there wasn't, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Board of Education has made the decision to retain this property as school district property. And superintendent, obviously he's brand new, just getting started, but he's been, part of the planning, or, caught him up to speed, he's aware, and yeah, he's fully in support as well.
Another question, if I may.
Go ahead.
I'm curious, Mr. Alderman, what do you think about this?
I'm not in favor of it.
And why?
There's a couple of reasons. One, I would want to ask a question is, the $8 million that they were talking about using for a referendum at the workshop on Monday night, is that a part of getting people to pay for this?
No, I mean, I think we've made it clear that the school district's funding and rec department funding are two different budgets. Not my budget, but Fund 80, which is your community service budget, cannot pay for anything related to schools or school operations or things that happen during the day. So the funding is all being available through Fund 80.
Second thing is, there is another option that's not being shared with everybody. There is another school, a private school, that would like to buy land that owns a number of properties around the city, which are large acreage properties, that if they can buy land, they will sell off those properties and put them back on the tax roll, which my job as an alderman is to make sure our taxes stay down, which means it's more beneficial to have more properties on the tax rolls. And the gentleman behind me, I believe, is here, and he can share the whole plan that they have with you guys if you'd like to hear it.
Any other questions? So, we don't have any other presentations on the agenda, so I guess I'm not comfortable with opening that up to other proposals at this point. What's in front of us is a rezoning by one entity. And I don't know if I'm misinterpreting our agenda. I just want staff's thought on.
It's up to the plan. I mean, it's this is what the zoning item is. What's before, just plan commission for discussion purposes. There's another entity, Alderman Stefanski noted, that's interested in purchasing this, but I guess we just come back to the fact that I guess the Board of Education, and the school district has it's not their intent to sell this property. So, well, that is another option. I mean, that the school district can explore. It's really plan commission can't.
Ultimately, the rezone is going to be ultimately decided by the council, correct?
Correct.
Not this
right.
body.
Yeah.
So
our next move after this is that we just wanted to talk about this evening for discussion purposes about the zoning implications that are before the school district, and should this be rezoned or not, or should there the different options that are available. And then the next step is we're going to give a similar presentation to the council, Economic Development Committee, on September 5th. We don't need any. I guess we're just looking for. In that case, we're looking for their direction. Do they want to just discuss it? I mean, I think there's just going to be a discussion item there as well. they don't need to take action, but we certainly welcome feedback at that more, public type of meeting. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna do the commission first and then the audience. Anything else from the commission?
I don't think so. I mean, I'd be in support of rezoning, but
I would too, in terms of option one.
it seems like the commercial use on I-100 that would match up with our law. I don't know what our comprehensive plan indicates, but it seems like, yeah, it would be
I
appropriate
think it
zoning.
syncs with the corridor study as well.
Right.
It was done a few years ago. Ryan?
Yeah, hi. I'm Ryan with Living Hope. I'm not here to offer you a different proposal. I would just like to say that by hearing what Mr. Shar brought up as far as zoning, the issue that we see and we're not in favor is we are trying to expand. We have looked not just at Plain, but everywhere else, and there's just not a lot of 4-acre, 5-acre parcels. They just don't exist. And so by even cutting an acre off to do a commercial development south of that, if a developer was to come and buy up all those individual properties, by all means, that's a plan. But the reality is, it is more, not the reality, it's the alternative. With the removal of this currently tax exempt property and the reduction of it, keep it with school, we're not necessarily against the rec department, we just think it could be accomplished better someplace else. Because at the end of the day, the alternative is we're going to have to acquire homes that we already own numerous homes. We're going to have to acquire additional homes, and we're going to have to remove them. Our properties, we have several properties that are along the interstate. They're in residential neighborhoods, and so that's going to require a reduction of housing stock for parking lots, for another gymnasium or another area. And so there is going to be a trade-off with whichever zoning is used on this area. And just to kind of specifically on the C3, again, if the intent is to change the zoning along 100, again, it actually makes sense to me that you would want high density along that corridor, but specifically at that intersection, being a state highway, the ingress and egress is difficult at that site because it's a state road. A lot of the entrances in and out are one directional. You can't go multiple directions because it's a very heavily trafficked area. So if someone would come along and put a very high density, by all means, that's your prerogative. A developer could do it, and it could economically be good for the city. But from a traffic perspective and from a use perspective, does that really change the math in that area? Furthermore, with the change, it actually would just allow the school district to proceed with the rec department, and that still keeps 3 acres of the 4-acre site in more or less a low density usage. So again, even with the rezoning, it doesn't actually accomplish the goal of increasing density at that site, because the vast majority of the site is staying in a low density usage. Now it does free up an acre, but again, whatever development that occurs there, unless someone is able to do something very large, it will be offset by additional losses with houses and other buildings that we are going to be forced, and other nonprofits really that are looking for space as well. So I would just, we nothing against the rec department or the school board. We're not necessarily weighing in on the merits of the rec location at this site. We just feel having large sites and keeping large sites intact actually will be a benefit to the city of West Allis and all their stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I believe, real quick, you guys had an original deal that was being worked on with the school district a while back, right?
We had just one tour with the previous superintendent a year and a half ago. No communication since then.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Thank you.
All right, thanks everybody. This is not an action item, so we will go on to item 6, the comp plan update.
Thank you, Mayor. I can go through this one. For item 6 here, or 7 here, 1 second. So just an update for the Planning Commission on our phase 3 of public engagement for the comp plan. This has been ongoing. It was supposed to end in August, and we've decided to extend this period until September to fit in a couple extra events and to better align with our timeline. Our timeline with Ayers, who is doing an area plan that will help inform our comprehensive plan. So our timeline will now go for this engagement period. Will go until the end of September. We're going to do a couple more community events. There's a community bike ride at Oak Brewing on September 6th, which you are all welcome to attend. We're also going to be doing tabling at a food truck Friday, and our survey will close at the end of September. So far, this period has been very successful. We've had over 360 new contact points with the community, bringing our total up to over 1,100. So lots of engagement, which has been very good. There's a picture from a farmer's market earlier in July.
Just going to add, you can hit the next year of youth commission since you're going till September.
Oh, that's a great call. That's a great call. That was a very productive workshop last time. I'd
Yeah,
love to
there'll
meet
be
them
some
again.
return kids, but there'll be some new ones too.
Awesome. Yeah, we should set something up.
Any questions on item 6 on the comp plan? No? Then we'll move on to item 7,
Right.
updates.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Mayor. Yep, this is our last item tonight. The August project tracking updates. We've had a few things get opened up recently. And you see at the top right, that's a picture of the spin, what's it called? Fire Cycle
Fire
Fitness.
Cycle Fitness.
Yep, very exciting ribbon cutting there was.
That ribbon cutting.
Yeah. That took place recently. The eye care clinic that you all saw as part of the Caribou Coffee proposal as well. Their front setback variance was approved by the Board of Appeals just a few days after that Planning Commission meeting. The council is set to deliberate the nicotine regulations from the zoning code updates that were recommended for approval by Planning Commission in the past month as well. Archie's Flat Top and Scratch Ice Cream also recently opened in Beecher Street, which Planning Commission approved. We have some building permit updates. 3 Leaf Apartments are nearing their construction start date. The Storage Rentals of America, that's kind of Lapham, I think, in the 111, something like that. They applied for their building permits, so that's kind of starting to move along. Chris Hansen's building permits were approved. Polly's building permits were approved. And then, as mentioned earlier, kind of prior to the meeting starting, to some of the members here, the Caribou Coffee project has encountered a kind of a problem with their water lines that may delay or kind of inhibit that project, so we'll keep you posted on that as well. And then also another completion on the bottom right is the Alice Tool mural along our Hingham State Trail, which was approved recently by the Planning Commission as well. Any questions or comments from the Planning Commission?
Just love that we have discussion on the fitness center, then we have Fire Cycle Fitness
Yeah.
opened, followed by Archie's Flat Top and Scratch Ice Cream.
Yeah.
Keep pedaling.
Yeah, right. Pedal past that mural.
Yeah.
All right. Any other discussion? If not, then our next meeting is going to be in September. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.